Losing a parent is not easy, and I wanted to share my story in hopes that you sort of resonate with any of the emotions that I'm feeling or was feeling at that time. My dad had passed away almost 4 years now. He passed away May 6th, 2020, and it has taken a little bit of time to adjust to just him not being here, whether it's having to emotionally handle that moment at the time, trying to run a household, or trying to just get used to the pace of life without him here, I guess was really weird. He had passed away from a heart attack, and I feel like it hits a little bit different when somebody you love and somebody you know passes away suddenly versus, say, like my grandma who had passed away from cancer. Like, you're able to take time to get used to the fact that they might not be here. You have more time to process it. But when somebody is taken away from you and suddenly, I feel like the pain in your heart is just a little bit more different. I am an older sibling, and I think I was about like 22 or 23 at the time when he had passed, and it's not easy being in your early 20s and seeing your parents go as young as you are, and then as young as they are too, because I don't know, like, you feel like you just had more things that you wanted to give them, or more moments that you wanted to have them there for in your life. Like, say when my sister gets married or when I get married, like having that person to walk you down the aisle, or having that person to meet your partner and to meet your in-laws and all that stuff. I think like at that exact moment that hard moment happens, like something in your brain is just like you know how you know that, like, have you seen that, like, That's So Raven, when she goes and like she sees her vision and like, okay, something crazy happens, like, okay, he how do I say it? I feel like the words are coming to me. Like, when someone passes away suddenly, it's like you go into like this multiple visions of just like, oh my god, he's not going to be here for my college graduation, he's not going to be here for my wedding, he's not going to be here to see my grandkids, but all at the same time you're like, but he's not here now. So you're like dealing with the emotions of the present, but you're also dealing with the emotions of what's not going to happen in the future. Do you get what I'm saying? It was sort of hard to get used to a new flow of routine, because in our household, it was our dad who was running a decent amount of the bills, or he's monitoring this or buying us food here. Yes, my mom did the other 50-50, but he would do some ends too, and I feel like you don't realize how much somebody's doing until like you literally like boop, like their presence is gone out of your life. And my mom does a lot for the house, but like my dad also has his part. But then when your dad's part is like boom, removed, you're like, wait, who's filling in the gaps of like whatever tasks he used to do? And so that was definitely hard getting used to. I think the big one was we didn't know half the passwords to all the stuff that he was running, or we didn't know how much he would do with like calling other family members, keeping the family like close together too, because he would reach out to this uncle and that uncle and be like, hey, why don't you come over to this house, to our house, or something like that. And I don't know, like, it is really weird, and it took a long time for the adjustment to kind of take place. And how do I say, like, planning a funeral, that was another one. Never thought I would do it at that age too, because I was like, don't worry, like, my grandparents are still alive, they're like 80 something, almost hitting 90. So I just assumed like, hey, I don't have nothing to worry about for another 20 to 30 years. But yeah, dealing with that problem at that young of an age is definitely weird. Planning a funeral, that was so weird. Like, I've seen funerals and I've gone to funerals, but I've never been part of the active arrangement of one. Like, in the midst of whatever emotions you're feeling, you have to be like, okay, like, what funeral home do you want to take him to? What cemetery plot number do you want to pick out? Like, who? Like, I did not think that would be something I would be dealing with at like 23, like picking out my dad's cemetery plot. Like, who in my right mind of vision would have thought of that? Not me. Like, that was not something I envisioned at all. But when it does happen, you know how like when you think of scary stuff happening, you're like, I could never handle that. You definitely can. Like literally his passing happened, and then his funeral happened, and then you have to plan this, and this is like, mind you, like in a matter of days, you know, like the human body does not wait for you to catch up with your emotions until you bury them. Like, you literally, like, okay, boom, he passes, and then you have to be like, you call the ER, you call the 911, you call everybody, and then you're in the midst of this chaotic emotion of like what just happened, and then you also have to be like planning stuff. Like, that was so weird, like having conversations with a person to pick out my dad's cemetery plot. Like, that thing will still never just comprehend to me, not understand, but comprehend into my mind at that time. But like now, looking at it after a couple years later, I'm like, that, like, I don't know how to say it. Like, when you're in the moment, you kind of feel like, I could never handle being in that situation, but when that situation is brought upon you, like your strengths or your emotions or your capabilities, like they all come out at that time. You're kind of like, you have to stand up and you kind of have to do what you have to do. Like, you have to take responsibility, and that is definitely not easy, especially when you're meant to feel those emotions. And I will definitely say, as I think I only allowed my body and my brain to experience the emotion like after all the things were done. You know, like after the funeral was finished and we had lay him to rest into the ground, it was in the casket, obviously. After you had laid him in the ground, then you go back home and you're just like, what just happened this past week? Like, literally, what just happened this past week? Like, okay, my dad just died, we planned a funeral, we picked out flowers, we picked out his plot, and then you come and you sit at home and you're like, this is another Tuesday, or this is another Wednesday. Like, I don't know, like that's why I'm so huge on, like, say I'm meeting somebody for the first time or randomly bump into them in the street. You literally never know what anyone has gone through that past week, those past days. You literally have no idea, and that is crazy. Like, that is actually crazy. Like, I would just, like, say I wanted to go to a Subway and I'm picking it up on that Tuesday, and I'm like, this is a Tuesday and I'm picking up Subway after my dad just passed this week. Like, I'm telling you, like, your brain takes so much time to come back into your body of like, what the fuck just happened? And I don't mean to swear, but yeah, like, what just happened this past week? Like, yeah, like, your body takes time to handle it. And yeah, I just wanted to put my experience out there, and I just hope somebody out there is not going through what I'm going through. But when it does happen, you are more capable than you think to handle those emotions at that moment. And I think one thing I definitely wish our family's like plan structure had was like, we literally need to know and work as if like a company or as a team does, of like, okay, if person A is not here, what are their tasks, what are their logins, what are their everything? Because literally, like, if you're working in an umbrella of a team as a family unit, each person does have their own little parts that they play in this overall play. You should know what each one does. You should have like an emergency binder or something of like your light bill password, your finance password, your like anything, like everything and anything that has to do with the house. You should definitely have an emergency binder, because that's the part that we felt like we didn't know how to handle. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say today, or that's all that comes to mind. I hope you guys have a great day, and I just wanted to get this kind of off my chest. Like, losing a parent is not easy, but taking time to appreciate the one that is there should definitely be in the back of your mind, for sure. Because yeah, if you're one of those people that sees your parents every once a year or something, don't do that. It's just go see them, unless they're rude or mean. But